Welcome to School Zone, the show all about your local school districts here in the White Mountains. I'm your host, Tommy Boy from White Mountain Radio, Storm 96.5. Today we'll be talking about the evolution of the principal. So it's fitting that we have two principals with me. From the Blue Ridge Elementary School District, Dave Clark.
Yes, sir. Thanks for inviting us.
Absolutely. And from the Show Low School District, from Whipple Ranch Elementary, Sandy Brimhall.
Yep.
I paused. It's okay. I just knew you was Sandy, not Sandy Brimhall. So one of the first questions I want to, I'm a DJ on White Mountain Radio. I do a couple of shows, I do a lot of production. I did not see myself being where I am now. Dave, if we could get in a time machine and go back to 10-year-old Dave Clark, what did you want to be when you grew up? Would you have said principal?
I wouldn't have. I was like every other kid. My thing, I wanted to be a firefighter.
Yeah.
And so that was what was my dream. And then that dream changed. I took a job at a YMCA on the south side of Tucson when I was in high school, and working with their youth programs and their sports programs. And then I actually took over the sports programs, and I went, you know, I really like working with young people.
Okay, so
and
originally
it
was
spurred.
firefighter.
It was.
Okay. Did you, what about it was that was appealing for the firefighter for you?
I don't know. Just every kid wanted to be a policeman or,
right, then the
or a firefighter. It was the glamour of going and saving people and fighting the big fires in the buildings. And
not in a million years would you have said school administrator?
I wouldn't have. No, not at all. Wouldn't have crossed my mind.
Not the path that you were going to take.
No, it was not.
Sandy, same question. We get in a time machine. We go back, talk to the 10-year-old Sandy Brimhall. Would she have said she wanted to be a principal?
No, I actually didn't want to work. I wanted to just live the life of luxury and never leave my mom and dad's house.
Nice. And so you wouldn't have had an answer then. You would have said, I just want to live the life of luxury.
Yeah, just pretty much like just being taken care of.
No way you would have said you wanted to be an administrator.
No, nor would my principals have suggested it.
That was my next question. If you were in school and we asked that same question of your teachers and we said, hey, today we just came back from time, 2015, Dave Clark is a principal, what would their reaction be?
No way.
Not going to happen?
No way. But I was the quiet guy. Sandy, I don't know, but I was the quiet guy in school.
So a lot of kids are going to watch this, and parents. Would you be embarrassed to say your grade point average?
No, not at all.
D's?
Oh, no, it was like a 3.4. Come on now.
When you were in school, would the teachers have said, this is someone who's probably going to be molding young minds later? That yes, no, if we went back and asked them?
They would probably say that I'm a great leader, and I just hope that she chooses to lead people in the right direction.
Right. But they probably, grade point average as a student?
No, my grade point average was pretty good.
Okay.
I received good grades. I didn't have to really work that hard. I wasn't that challenged academically, but my goal was to have fun, and sometimes that doesn't fit in a school setting.
Okay. Homework, would they have said she's knocks it out of the park, or not so much?
I didn't have much of an option for homework because my mom is pretty much on top of that, so.
It was do your homework.
It was do your homework.
Okay. Another thing that I wanted to ask you folks, we're all sort of a collective sum of our past. Every job that you took, every person that you met, all the relationships you've had. Did you take the normal path, Dave, to being as a quote-unquote, is there a normal path? Is there a path to becoming a principal? And was that the path you took to get where you are?
Well, when I finally decided I wanted to go into education, which, as I said to you earlier, when I took the job at the YMCA, I was like, this is what I want to do.
Right.
I don't know why I want to do it or how I'm going to do it, but this is what I want to do. And so I started out actually in college in finance.
Right.
And I didn't like the math, so I said, I'm going to have to
It wasn't even Common Core back then.
It was not. And so I had to kind of redo what I wanted to do. And like I said, it was always in the back of my mind, I wanted to work with kids. And so I switched paths, went into the, to get my teaching credentials, and did all of that, and then started to teach at a school down in Tucson. And
how long were you a teacher?
I was a teacher for 7 years down in Tucson. Okay. And then my wife and I and my 1-year-old baby moved up to the White Mountains, and then I took a counseling position at Blue Ridge High School because I'd just gotten my counseling credentials. I got my master's in counseling, and so I spent some time doing that, and then all of a sudden I was the alternative school director over at the same high school, and went from that to doing assistant principal stuff and did athletic director stuff and kind of taken a lot of different, ways within that path, but I feel like it's helped me to be well-rounded in what I do.
Is there a traditional path?
There is.
If I went and Googled becoming a principal.
There is. You always want to get that experience. You want to get that well-rounded experience. And like I said, I think what I've done in the past has really helped me to do what I do now. And it's hard to believe it's my third year as principal now. And so I pretty much took the traditional path, I feel. But in this day and age now, there are alternative pathways, and people come to the same profession in different directions. So,
Sandy, same question. We are sort of a collective sum of where we've been in the past. Did you take a traditional path? Tell us about your venture to become a principal.
Well, I actually realized in high school how much I loved working with special needs students, and I was 8 in the classes there, and I absolutely loved the special needs, and I felt like I had a strength and a talent to help them and to understand them and to be advocate for them. And so at that point, I knew I wanted to do something with special needs. And then I took a job once my kids were all in school as being a special needs aide at Snowflake High School. Absolutely loved it. Left the area and went down and worked again as a paraprofessional, and then went from there to working as a principal secretary. From there, going back to school to become a teacher. So I taught special education for many years, and then I became the special education director, which I absolutely loved. Absolutely loved it. And at one point, my superintendent suggested that I be a principal, and I thought, yeah, that's really not for me. I love the special needs students and feel like I have something to offer in that area. But he gave me a challenge, and I'm somebody who likes a good challenge.
Right.
And so I told him, let me think about it. It didn't take me very long to decide I'd give it a try. And I love special education. It's really helped me in my role as a principal. It's helped me identify a lot of areas and to strengthen a lot of areas that, as a principal, that I've benefited me. But I remember having a conversation with Mike Allstock, who has since passed, and Dave and I both had the pleasure of working underneath him, and an amazing man, an amazing tutor and mentor to many of the administrators in this area, just phenomenal. And he was somebody that I could call for guidance. And he knew my strengths, but he also knew my weaknesses. And I had a conversation with him and asked him, so how do you see me as a principal? And he said, you'll be fantastic, without any hesitation.
So before jumping in, you said, why would you even suggest this to me?
Yeah, and I was surprised he answered, because he knows me really well.
Okay.
And he just said, because right now public education needs a fighter, and you're a fighter.
Well, yeah, I can imagine that's a really good key role to have as a principal. One of the things, I was talking to my children the other day, told me we were going to do this. And I said, well, what do you think my job entails, and what do you think your mom's job entails? And so I asked my son, I said, what do you think a principal does? And I told you this a minute ago. He thinks they give announcements and punish children. And I'm pretty sure there's a little more into it than that. So as we think we know what a principal's job is, paint us a picture, day in the life of a principal. You come in prepared for A, B, and C, and you get X, Y, and Z, or what does a day at being a principal look like to you?
You were pretty spot on. You wake up in the morning thinking, this is what I'm going to do. Right. This is how it's going to go, and it never does. You get in there.
Good news is you get to use your firefighting skills.
That is true, because you do put out a lot of fires as a principal, but there's so much to it. That's one of the things I really love, is that I'm an adrenaline junkie, and when you go every day and you go in, it's always something different. You never know what's going to happen. It's funny that your son talked about announcements and giving discipline, because there are so many things that go into the day.
Sure.
Some of the great things I love to do. We do a lot of character education stuff at our school, and we have a character counts program, and we talk daily about the pillars and what it means to be super jackets, what it means to be superhuman beings, and that's one of the parts of my job I really love. I do lunch with the principal once a month, where we award students who are excelling in the classroom, or excelling socially, and we get to go and it's a different theme every month.
Really?
And my last theme was a pirate theme, and we're going to have a Halloween theme a little bit after Halloween, and so it's those great things, and watching the students grow throughout the years, and you want to be a support to your teachers, and in this day and age, you want to be supporting your teachers on a daily basis. My job, in my mind, is I want to give my teachers, my staff, the tools to succeed. And if I'm not doing that, I'm not doing my job. I need to remove obstacles. And so, I do whatever I can to remove those obstacles. And so you may have a day where a student has somebody who has passed away in their family. We have a lot of that. And you've got to, help that student through that. Thank goodness this year we have a counselor at our school, which has been a real blessing for us. And so you work with students that are having troubles. And yes, you do work with students who need discipline.
Sure,
that is part of the day.
We'll get to that in a minute. That's the exciting part.
But that's just that's a small part of the picture.
Okay.
And thank goodness we do a lot of promoting the good behaviors. And so the discipline comes, it's always going to, but it's never anything that's overwhelming. And it's just being there to support your teachers, being there to support your staff, being there to support your students and your families, and because everybody's going through something.
Nice.
And it's nice to be able to help when you can.
Sandy, same question. We think we know what your day-to-day chores look like, but something we might not know.
Well, some days I feel like I'm more of a cheerleader than anything. I was a cheerleader.
Firefighter, cheerleader, we're set.
I do. I feel like you do put out a lot of fires, but I think that one of the greatest things as a principal I have the opportunity to do is to make a decision. Am I going to be part of the solution? And in doing so, I need to be positive. And I need to breed positive with my staff. So when people come to my school, it's a feeling of feeling positive. And I had a parent tell me that my school has taken on my personality, and I kind of held my breath, because I have lots of my personalities I wouldn't want my school to take on. And they do that. I set the tone of my school. I set the climate at my school to where parents are going to want to be there and feel like they're part of it, and to feel like their concerns are validated. And a lot of parents come with a lot of past experiences that may dominate how they see the reality. And the
preconceived
reality,
notions of your role,
right,
for example.
or even a concern over their child. And the most important thing is to validate that concern, whether it's from a parent, a teacher, or a child. That part of validating the concerns is huge for me, and I want them to know that that together we can come up with a solution, whether it be the teacher or the janitor. And I have an amazing support staff, and every one of their voices are important to me. And
it's amazing. Ideas come from everywhere.
Yeah, they do. And I my best ideas usually come from somebody else. And I'm perfectly fine with that. I'm an egotistical person.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm just more of a facilitator.
You're not my way or the highway?
No, not at all. Because usually I'd rather follow someone else's that I know is successful than trying to create my own. But I think more than anything, I'm facilitating a lot of amazing people to become the best they can be and to set that tone. And one way we set that tone is we have a theme too. Last year was superheroes. This year it's about bees. So we have 5 things that we talk about every day. We draw our bee workers on Friday. They get to come up and have a prize, and sometimes it's pizza with the principal. But they're recognized every Friday, and we have some amazing support from Pizza Factory that they came and did an assembly at our school today and gave 18 kids a t-shirt that says No Bully Zone. Nice. And Darren from Pizza Factory is amazing, great support, and comes acknowledges those kids who are examples of the complete opposite of a bully.
I'm glad you brought that up. When we come back, we're going to talk about bullying, we're going to talk about discipline, and we're going to talk about what happens when we go through the process, and is there an appeal process, and what someone does if they don't like how the process is working. We're going to take a quick break, but we'll be right back with School Zone here on Sheldo TV. Welcome back to School Zone with my 2 guests, Dave Clark of the Blue Ridge Elementary School District.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Sandy Brimhall, Whipple Ranch Elementary from the Sheldo School District. Welcome back to School Zone.
Thank you.
Okay, when we broke, we were talking about bullying, and that has to be an issue that daily you're either talking to someone about how it works, what your philosophy on it is, or maybe there's a bullying issue. How do you deal with bullying over at the Sheldo School District?
I think the best thing we do is we set a level of expectation so the kids understand what does that look like.
Right.
What does a bully look like? And is that behavior, is it a kid making a poor choice, or are you really being a bully? The first year as a principal, I had a lot of kids think that they were being bullied.
Right.
And so defining what a bully is and what it looks like and how it makes a person feel.
Well, if he's got my lunch money, he's probably a bully.
Right.
Okay.
If he's threatening you, or anything to cause that you could any bodily harm or anything like that. But so we clearly set the expectations, but I think the best thing we do is to look at those students who are a bully and said, what is his behavior trying to tell me? The
underlying reasons there.
Every action has a cause.
Sure.
So what's the antecedent that's causing this behavior? Has he been bullied? Is he so victimized by bullies in his past that he automatically is a bully? So what's that kid trying to tell me that why he's a bully? And so once you look at that, and it helps that we have a mental health specialist that can help. We have anger management classes to teach some kids just how to control their anger. It's not that they're really wanting to be a bully, they just don't have the skills or the social skills to handle situations when they get angry.
No names, but I would imagine
No
we see a lot
names.
of the same students.
Yes, but we have a system set up that works really nice. So they might start out with the lunch detention, and it's all noted. And during that time, there's a protocol that they have to follow. And if it's students that we see in there repeatedly, then it comes to me, and then I can pull them in and start working on that process. And it's part of my special education background that helps me know.
I would imagine.
At that point, is this a kid who's just really struggling, or is this something that's more severe? And then we put a plan in place to help those kids and give them the tools they need.
Do you have a couple success stories? Again, no names, but someone who's, one day they're a bully, now maybe they're a A student.
Absolutely. We actually have a lot of success stories. But I think the biggest thing is that they know what's expected. And they know that I have all the faith in the world in them, that they can achieve what we expect of them. And we had a little student last year who came from the worst situation scenario at home you can imagine.
Right.
And he only understood and felt loved by hitting, and that's how he communicated. So he didn't really understand or had the tools ever given to him to understand what compassion feels like, what empathy feels like.
That makes your challenge that much harder.
Yes, it does. But in working with the family and working with other agencies in the area, we're able to put up a nice plan for him and come up with a behavior plan and do a functional behavior assessment where we really could look at him. Where does he do well?
Where is he today?
He's still at our school. I haven't seen him one time this year.
Nice.
And we have another one of his siblings there this year, and you can tell changes in the family, the dynamics.
That's what makes it worth it.
Yeah, and I have an incredible PE teacher, and I did last year too, who's just amazing. And if I say, you know what, I'm really sorry you made that choice. If that happens again, you may not get to have PE next week. And that'd be so sad for you not to have PE.
Right.
So those kids that are going to behave, they just need a little reminder. They'll do anything not to have to miss PE. So you see the change in behavior really quick. But it's those kids who it's above and beyond that they can't control themselves, that we really put in an at-risk category and then do everything we can possible to help those kids be successful.
Dave Clark, bullying is not a subject that's going away anytime soon. How do you deal with it?
It's not, and I have to agree with Sandy. You got to be careful when you use the term bullying, because I think it's become a term that's just used all the time.
Sure.
And it's not always necessarily that. There's a one-time occurrence of something. You got to remember, a bully is someone who continuously over time continues to do have the same behavior, and it's not going to go away anytime soon. But Sandy put it really good. I almost have to just say carbon copy her dialogue with you. But I will say this, is that every step along the way with bullies, as with all of your students, you always have to let them know that you will always believe in them. And I have a saying that young people are like molds of clay.
Sure.
And some need little molding and some need a lot of molding. And the key is that you're never going to give up on them. And oftentimes with a bully, they have been picked on a lot themselves, or something's going on at home. There's a situation happening at home that maybe we're not aware of.
So you're part psychiatrist.
You have to be all the time.
Right.
And so when you're working with students, the good news is that bullies are probably maybe 1% of your population. The other 99% are doing exactly what you need them to do.
Right.
But we know that 1% oftentimes takes a lot of time of your time and a lot of time of others' time. But the thing is, it's never wasted time. And they got to know you care about them every step of the way. And you got to stay consistent. And you got to keep the family aware of what's going on, because a principal that I worked for, Mr. Borton, years ago, told me the circle always needs to be complete, and I've never forgotten what he told me. And it's just keeping everybody involved. Make sure the teacher knows, what's going on. Make sure that the family understands if this is an ongoing habit. Now, that doesn't mean you call every single time.
Sure.
Because when the behavior starts, you want to try to deal with it as a principal and with support staff. And
all hands on deck type folks.
All hands on deck. And the thing is, there's always somebody that student connects to.
Right.
And I'm very blessed at Blue Ridge, because I have an outstanding staff that cares a lot about kids. And if I can't reach that student, there's somebody on that campus that will reach that student.
Nice.
And it's interesting that Sandy mentioned taking away the special.
Sure.
Because
what's important?
If you say to a student, hey, do you want to go out to recess?
Right.
Oh, I really want to go to, well, if you continue this, you can't go, oh no, I want to go to recess. So there's those carrots you can dangle with those students,
Right.
And you come up with a plan, and you follow through on the plan, and sometimes there's an immediate fix,
Sure.
but sometimes there's not.
It's ongoing.
And I can tell you, listening to Sandy talk about her success stories, there's so many of them.
Sure.
And when you first get the students in as kindergartners, I have one kindergarten young man in mind that, man, kindergarten year was just a handful, constantly, every single day.
Sure.
And that young man is not perfect. He's in second grade now, and he's not perfect. But I'll tell you what, watching his progress
Nice.
from then to now, it's like a student who gets a 51% on a test. Well, a lot of people may think that's an F. But if that student only scored a 20% on the last one,
Right.
you got to look at where the improvement is coming. And so watching students like that, we had a third grader last year who came in from another district, and his habits always, he had been, his solution to things was, I'm going to fist up and I'm going to hit you.
Sure.
And that was how he reacted to things.
Is that the wrong answer, by the way?
That
is the wrong
That is the wrong answer,
Okay.
yes, that is the wrong answer.
Just double checking.
And so his solution for everything was to hit somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and again, he's not perfect still, but he's a lot less of the fist drawn and a lot more of under. But it's you have to make sure they understand the culture of your school.
Right.
It's like Sandy said, you got to make sure they understand what it means to be Super Jackets. What does that look like?
Right.
What behavior should you be displaying? How should you be treating others around you, whether you like them or not?
Sure.
Doesn't matter.
Find that emotional cord too sometimes, who are you disappointing by these actions, and sometimes that works. As we're learning more about your job, I'm going to give you each a moment to answer this question, but it cannot be easy with the budget constraints in place that they are. Let's talk about that for a moment. Sandy, you're up first.
Actually, that's the most frustrating part of my job. If I could just deal with parents every day and students and my staff, that'd be amazing. But it's hard to have a plan and then not be able to plan because you never know what the money's going to be like when it gets to you, because it takes so long to decide. And
Sure.
to feel like you have a group of legislators that are not hearing the voices of what we need at school, and to see in written print that we're one of the lowest states in the nation for funding education. And we've been so blessed, and I'm sure Dave will echo this, we've been so blessed to have the teachers stay here on the mountain and to stay in the teaching profession.
Better
because
opportunities on the horizon.
Right.
It's
So
almost like having the chair pulled out from underneath you.
it really is, and it says a lot to the teachers in both of our schools that are here for the right reasons. And there's a lot of fantastic teachers who have left because of financial reasons, that they cannot stay and support their families on the pay that we've offered them. Shello School Districts has had pay freezes for the last 6 years, and I'm pretty sure I must be the lowest paid administrator on the whole mountain. But it's a great testament for the staff that has stayed, because you don't ever have any idea. And we've been fortunate. After you called me, I started thinking, what have I lost for students over all these cuts? You're like over $4 million in cuts to our district. And we still offer PE, we still offer music. So I can't see anything that the students have lost, but we don't have the money capital to buy new buses. We need new buses terribly.
I was at the bus barn this morning. They could definitely.
Did the same thing, yeah.
So you're a concerned parent. I definitely want to help you out. I want you to have as many tools as you can to do your job. How do I help you?
Contact your legislation. Contact the legislators and let them know how you feel, that there needs to be more resources and more support put into public education. And it's unfortunate, because this is our generation. This is who's going to be taking care of us.
Excellent.
And if you really looked at the percentage of what we're putting into education and what we continue to take away from education, your actions are showing that there's not a whole lot of support there.
Dave, you're up. Budget constraints.
Oh, where do we start? It is frustrating. With the cuts in education throughout the last previous years, it's just frustrating. There's no capital budget. The capital budget has been cut. The newest number from the legislature saying that there could possibly be a $400 million influx into the schools statewide. When we met with Superintendent Douglas the other night at Whipple Ranch, nice school, by the way.
Thank you.
But we talked about, and our superintendent, Mr. Wright, stood up and said, you're saying $400 million, but really the number closest to reality that really is needed in this state is about $1.6 billion. And those were great words, because we're behind the 8 ball. And I think we're 50th in education spending.
Is that out of a state, or is that out of the counties?
The nation.
The nation.
The nation. And it's interesting. I saw something once where they base how many prisons they build on third grade reading scores, and it's really, really scary. And so, you know, I can't say enough, I can't reiterate enough what Sandy said. Contact your legislators. Let them know. You know, public school is a good thing. Public school is not the monster that some people make it out to be. Public school is a wonderful place where there are great academics being taught every day.
Right.
There are great social lessons being taught every day, and public school. I'm a product of the public school system. I'm not sure if Sandy is or you are, but you know, the public school system is a good system, and I'm proud. I've been in education over 20 years. And I'm proud to be in public education, but we need to let our legislators know, and they need to hear a solid voice saying, we're not going to take this anymore.
Well, make your jobs a lot easier, and I want you to have as many tools as you can. Getting near the end of the program, I want to thank you both for being on the show, but I want you to take a second. This is going to air during the month of November. I want to hear what you're thankful for, Sandy, as we talk to folks and say what you were thankful for. If I ask you what you're thankful for during Thanksgiving this month, what are you thankful for?
I'm thankful for a belief system that taught me that there's always something better. To have parents that taught me that the most important thing is how I treat people. And I try to take that throughout my day, every single day, of how would the person leave me feeling better about themselves, or have I just made that person feel worse about themselves? And with that belief system, it carries over, hopefully, no matter where I'm at. That if it's not, then I need to do a double check on me, check myself. But to have the belief system that was taught by my parents, that's the most important thing I can do, is how I treat other people and how I feel about myself, to be happy with the progress, but know that I can always do better and always look for ways to be better.
That's definitely a lot to be thankful for. Mr. Clark, it's going to air during the month of Thanksgiving. What are you thankful for, sir?
I'm thankful for my beautiful wife, who's also a teacher in the school system, and who's my best friend. I'm thankful for my children, who are in our system at Blue Ridge and are doing very, very well as students, as people. I'm thankful to live in an awesome community. We have a community that supports our school, and we have a lot of wonderful people. We have an awesome PTSL. I have an awesome staff from top to bottom, and they are people who care, and they're still doing it, even though a lot of them aren't making a lot of money doing it. They're doing it because they love kids, because they love to make a difference, and I'm thankful for that, and I'm thankful that that I get to come to work every day and work with kids, and that I get 100 hugs a day.
It's a great answer. Dave Clark, Sandy Brimhall, thanks for being on the show. Thank you for joining us here on School Zone on Sholo TV, White Mountain Radio. We'll see you next month.